When I quit my job, I definitely gave up on the fact that I would probably ever be able to own a home in Los Angeles. And from the day I started in the flea market to now, just a couple years later, it is literally unreal that Jeff and I were able to afford and buy a home in the neighborhood we loved in Los Angeles. We lucked out with a 3-bedroom Spanish style house built in the 30s, and it had a detached garage in the backyard that was the perfect place for my studio. You know, I was only 27 years old, and this house was everything I aspired to, and it was basically my new dream project. The detached garage, which was my studio, served as an office for me and my 2 employees, and then our 3rd bedroom became my printing room, and I actually had 2 interns, and between the 5 of us, we worked out of the backyard. So this was a 1930s bungalow, and it needed a lot of updating. And in the middle of furnishing the living room, I was shopping on One Kings Lane where my work is sold, and I thought, what if One Kings Lane could furnish this room, I could hang my art, and then we could do an event together where people could shop this room. So I reached out, and what do you know, they loved this thought, and they wanted to do not only the living room, but also our outdoor patio. I really enjoyed looking through One Kings Lane's website for the right pieces of furniture that would complement the room, but also my artwork. Before I knew it, the event went live on onekingslane.com, and sure enough, people loved shopping it. They loved the inspiration behind the story, and it was a totally new way of thinking of marketing. And it got me thinking, could I do this with another company? Could I do our bedroom? Could I do our kitchen? Who's to say that my art couldn't work with other brands? So I reached out to Williams Sonoma, and sure enough, they were interested in working on my kitchen. Before I knew it, it was featured on Architectural Digest. And then we reached out to Serena and Lily, and it was really a match made in heaven because it allowed me to sort of design the space and also think about my artwork in a house setting. And then when we put it onto social media, people instantly were inspired to want to recreate the look in their own home. You know, these are big brands, and I'm a small company. And I realized that these brand collaborations were helping me reach new audiences that I couldn't get to on my own. It was about a year later when I realized that my company was bursting out of this house and that we really needed to find a proper office space where I could hire more people and keep growing the company. During the year that I was designing the house, I met an interior designer who told me she was designing a very popular blogger's house. And she said, Gray, you should really give this blogger a photograph of yours, and she will drive a lot of traffic to your website and bring new eyeballs to your work and potentially many new orders. And I thought, for free? Who does that? Well, guess what? It worked. I couldn't believe the influence her blog had. What was really cuckoo was that at the same time this was happening, I had shot so many locations for my aerial beach project that I was thinking about making a book. And what do you know? This blogger was working on a book, and her publisher saw this photograph of my print hanging in her house, and she went on my Instagram, reached out to me, and she said, Gray, I work for Abrams in New York City. Have you ever thought of making a book? And I basically died and went to heaven. Meanwhile, we had just found an awesome office space right in West Hollywood, and I signed a 5-year lease, which was, woo, really like me committing to this company. And I knew once we started furnishing and decorating the office that this was no longer a small little company. This was becoming a brand. While we were working on the book, I also started to reach out to some other companies that I was interested in collaborating with, one of which was a brand new company called Swell Water Bottles. And sure enough, they were interested in making a gray male and X Swell water bottle collection. I also have a little bit of an obsession with pool floats. If you remember from my Antarctica series, there's a photograph of a white swan inflatable. And I reached out to a company that was fairly new called Funboy, and I asked if we could make a swan float with one of my aerial beach photographs printed on it. And they were super interested, and we started working on a small limited edition of 500 Gray Malin X Funboy swan floats. You know, these were just very authentic brands that I loved, but I had no idea about the real reach of, for example, Swell water bottles. They were in every department store across the country and in many mom and pop shops as well. So soon my name, my brand, my logo would be in Nordstrom, Saks Fifth Avenue, Neiman Marcus, Barney's, and there's such power in collaborating. When the book was finally done, I actually had achieved my complete vision. The cover was exactly what I sketched out on the first day, and it covered 6 continents, all of the most stunning aerial photographs I had taken from helicopters around the world. For me, looking through the book when it was done, I thought, this is so great for everyone who's bought one of my photographs. This is so great for my parents, my family, my friends. I had no real concept that this book was going to soon become one of the most popular coffee table books in the entire country, yet alone the world. I was in New York City in a taxi with my husband Jeff when I got the call from my publisher that Beaches had become a New York Times best-selling book. And it was just so incredible because they had told me that $40 coffee table books would never become bestsellers because they're too expensive. And I just was so overwhelmed that I was able to publish a book that so many people loved so quickly and so much. And it was Jeff's birthday and I made this cute lunch reservation. And we ordered champagne when we sat down. And all of a sudden I got a text message, and Rihanna, the pop singer, had shared some social videos of her on the Gray Malin X Funboy swan float in Barbados or somewhere, and it was going viral on the internet. And I just stared at my phone. In between the book becoming a New York Times bestseller and Rihanna, this was one of those days I would never ever forget the rest of my life. I went on a small book tour for Beaches, and in my hometown of Dallas, there were 300 people in line for me to sign the book, and to see the people in person, not just on Instagram, it was so special to talk to people, to shake their hands, to sign their book. I became obsessed with the book tour. I wanted to go everywhere. I did San Francisco, Chicago, New York City, the Hamptons, even Martha's Vineyard, Miami. I really just loved getting to meet everyone who bought the book, and it lit a fire under me to want to keep going. So as the book became more and more popular, people started sharing photographs of it styled on their coffee tables at home with a candle, with flowers. And I started to think, wow, the coffee table is a beautiful space to do something. Could I create Gray Malin products on my own? Could I make trays? Could I make coasters? Could I make candles? And this whole world just started to become more and more exciting. I hope that by hearing these stories, we are able to connect, and that by listening to this whole journey, you are able to understand the value of your art. It's so much more than a photograph.